Hello, ladies. I have a wonderful guest today on the Made Easy podcast with Tanya, and we are going to dive into authentic voice. How do we know we have it? Emotion code, getting rid of some limiting beliefs. I'm so excited for this conversation. So please introduce yourself to our wonderful guest today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. My name is Ydaiber Orozco, so it's not a common name. So I am originally from Venezuela, but I've been living in the United States for more than half of my life and the last 10 years, specifically in Los Angeles.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I have listened to your podcast, and I'm coming up as a guest on your podcast. And I love doing these pod swaps. I really do, because A, it's women supporting women. We're also really sharing our voices with other women to really support them. And I think a really important topic is this authentic voice. Like what is even like, how would you define authentic voice?
Yeah, this has been a long, long, long journey for me to realize even that I was not living aligned with my own authenticity, that I was one person at work. I was one person with my friends. I was one person with my family. And then a few years ago, after several heartbreaks and losses in my life, I noticed that I was exhausted. I was just exhausted to pretend that I was okay. I
Mm.
was so ready to just be like, oh, okay, people, this is who I am, and you got to take it or leave it kind of thing. And interesting, the moment that I started embracing that, doors started to open in different ways that I never expected. I'm also an actor, so I'm a coach and I'm an actor. And my acting career, it's what I have focused on probably for the last, I don't know, 15 years at least. But I come from a corporate world where I had to be the nice girl, the good girl, the professional one, right? And being an immigrant, obviously, that put other labels on me that felt like, okay, I cannot be this fun party girl because this is not going to be accepted, right? And so I think that for so many years, I just kept hiding part of me. And it was so painful to find out in my 40s that I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, who am I doing this for? I'm like, this is not who I'm supposed to be. And, coaching and all of this stuff that I'm doing now, podcasting came out of this need of expression, out of this need to start removing those layers that I've been myself and the society putting on me. I'm being like, I am just ready to just really shine this mess. you know like I am done trying to be a perfect thing that is never going to be perfect. So I realize that a lot of these had to do with what I value in my life and what my values are. And it's like I said, it's been a long journey to understand like what is even important to me, so that when I'm coming out, when I'm showing up with that whole thing, that everything is aligned, that I don't have to ever be a chameleon again unless it's in acting, that I can save that for the acting stuff, but that in my real life I am just ready to be this one version, and hopefully the people that I care about takes it well, and if not, it's okay to also cleanse our circles and the people that we interact with. So that's a super long explanation to what that means to me.
It's really interesting because some of it is people pleasing, right? We don't want to use our authentic voice because we're afraid we're going to, um, you know, I don't know, tick somebody off.
Yeah.
And then if you're, when I think back in my 20s when I used to work at a health club and I taught fitness classes, and a large part of me has always been myself. But
Hmm.
what I noticed when I was in this environment is that the ass kissers, let's just call them, I was not one of them, got more classes than me
Mm.
because they were playing the game. And this is one reason why I've had my own business for so long, is because I'm not very good at playing that game. I am me. This is who I am. I'm messy. I'm real. I'm vulnerable. I'm raw. And sometimes I'm a child, sometimes I'm childlike and energetic, and other times I'm withdrawn and come into myself. And even with some of my podcast episodes, I'll jump in sometimes when I'm really low,
Mm,
because that is important for people to see all of me and not just this person. But there's definitely, you see it with so many things. We're judged. We're judged on how our social media looks. We're judged to have this perfection. And
mhm.
I just know that's unattainable to be consistently like that, because we're not perfect. We are messy humans. And so
Yeah.
this authentic voice for some people can be very scary, because again, if you're in certain environments, right, there's certain expectations, and it's, are you really willing to allow yourself to be that authentic human being? And for some people, they are in certain spots, like at home, they may feel more comfortable, but at work they have a different, like you said, it's you're an actor in this life, and sometimes you're on different stages and you act certain ways, right? And so,
Well, but this is the thing though.
mhm,
We're going to be judged no matter what.
mhm,
Whether you stick to what society deem normal or whether you go against it, you're going to be judged.
mhm,
So wouldn't it be more fun and easier to just be judged for who you are, for who you truly are? And I get it. Sometimes, I'm not going to come into a church and be loud and do this thing and disruptive, right? Because why would I do that? That's not being authentic. That's just being a rebel for the sake of it, like being
right,
disruptive for the sake of it. And that's not what I'm talking about at all. But what I what I see, especially so much with women my age, is that because we have come from, even if we come from a different country like me, the programming is the same. The programming is you do this way, you behave, you are a nice, kind person, which I don't take any of that away. That is super valuable. And that's probably one of the biggest values right now in society, the way things are going right now. But at the same time, it put a lid on our emotions. It put a lid on the way that we're supposed to express ourselves. So you're not supposed to cry in front of other people. You're not supposed to be angry. You're not. So all of these things that we got programmed is within our subconscious at this point, right? So it is super hard. And that's why it takes a lot of deconditioning, and it takes a lot of inner work and awareness to start removing those layers. It's not just the decision of like, I'm gonna be authentic. Sure, that's the first step, right? That's like what happened to me, right? It's like I'm exhausted. I am done. But it's like, oh, but how do I start removing all these things that I grew up with, that I believed in, right? That were placed upon me, and how do I start working on that? So that's when the other work comes in. That's where I come the release phase, right? The reprogramming phase. And it's, there's so many tools out there. People use shadow work, people use, reprogramming limiting beliefs. I start with a technique called the emotion code, because to me, the emotion code taps into people's subconscious, because we're not always aware of all these layers of emotions that we have trapped. And the first time, just to even tell you what emotion code is, it's a healing technique, very similar to what you would consider Reiki, but it doesn't require you to have hands-on, or even I know that Reiki can be done in a proxy way as well, but it doesn't require that. It's like we use different muscle testing techniques to find what is the emotion that is trapped, and then we release it. And this can be done in person, this can be done in proxy, this can be done even me doing a session for somebody who I'm not even talking to at the moment, but they're shy. They just don't want to be on camera, or it's sure we can still do that kind of work. And what it does is we tap into your subconscious and we find the emotion that is trapped, we release it, and we replace it with a high vibe energy. And for me, the first time that I heard of it, I was so skeptic. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do a session and see what happens. And what was so remarkable for me, that the woman who did my session, she didn't know me. We had never been in contact with each other, no social media following whatsoever. And the first emotion that she tapped into was grief.
Mm.
And I just lost it because I'm like, there is no way that this woman knows what I've been going through for the last 15 years. You know, I lost both of my siblings in different occasions, and
Mhm.
I had been holding into this pain for so many years that even though I was highly functional, I've been highly functional my entire life, that pain was just so deep inside that I had not worked on it. And that was the beginning for me of removing these layers. And, you know, and I told her, I'm like, how do you know? And she's like, no, I don't know. She's like, your subconscious knows, and you've been holding into it, and it manifests in pains and aches and anger and all these other things, limitations. And she's like, so we gotta get rid of as much as we can so we can start planting new thoughts, planting new beliefs, planting new habits. But that's why that first phase is so important. So, like I said, whether you work with somebody who is a Reiki practitioner, whether you do any other kind of work, whatever you want to call it, that first phase of getting rid of whatever is holding us back, it's so important. So, for me, the way that I go about it, it's through the emotion code.
Yeah, I've done some emotion code work. I also am a Reiki practitioner. And, you know, it really, I try and explain this to everybody in the sense that you're saying is that, remember when a phone was attached to a wall, which was attached to a cord, right? And
Mhm.
now we have cell phones. That's what Reiki and emotion code is. You don't need to be attached. It's the feeling,
Mhm.
it's the vibration, it's the frequency, right? That is connecting those messages. And I absolutely agree. You know, 95% of us are run from our subconscious. We think we're in control, we're not in control. So
Mhm.
and it's not that like what you can say, you can be sad that your siblings died, but you don't know how that grief has attached into your body and is affecting you with the things that you do and how you talk and all of that kind of stuff. So I believe it's really important work. It's part of your health, um, you know, your health circle to be
Yeah.
involved with somebody who does this kind of energetic work. Because we have a lot of physical work, mental work, emotional work, spiritual work, it all works together. And it is a weight off your shoulders, right? It's a
Mhm.
release, it's an energetic release. And I always say to
Yeah.
people, I think it's really important to do because it's like spring cleaning your house or even just
Mhm.
your house. You're just getting rid of these dust bunnies that have settled, right? And so
Yeah.
you just get them up and out. And like you said, you replace them with loving kindness or some other higher vibrational thought. So yes, that is definitely something that I implore people to do and have as part of their, you know, healthy practices. So how do you know if you are using your authentic voice? Like, how do you know the difference?
Yeah, this is an ongoing process. I think we're going to be in this the rest of our lives, and it's something that is ever evolving. However, one way is that it feels easy.
Mm,
It flows. When you're in a group, when you are talking to somebody, right? I'm talking to you right now. It feels easy. I don't feel stressed out about it. I don't feel I'm pushing anything. I'm not selling anything. So that's when you're aligned with your authenticity, right? You are in a relationship with somebody and silence can happen. You feel totally comfortable with that. You're at your job and you don't feel like you're trying to prove yourself constantly. You're just doing your job and you feel comfortable, not knowing, not feeling as if you're walking on eggshells. I left a job because of that, because I realized this is not aligned with my authenticity. This is not aligned with who I'm supposed to be. And it felt uncomfortable. It felt like I had to pretend. It felt like I had to pretend that I liked it. And I'm like, okay, people, this is not this is not my career. This is a job and I don't have to like it. I have to just do the job, right? So when he felt that I had to have that pressure of people pleasing, I'm like, no, no, this no longer resonates. So I think that's how you know it. Your body knows it. There's a feeling of ease. There's a feeling of alignment. There's a feeling of gratitude,
mm,
right? I love having, this, I love meeting with people one-on-one. Like, even though I do group workshops, one-on-one is for me a way to really go deep with somebody. And I feel so comfortable in that environment. And I rather go deep with one person than go superficial in a group event, right? And I think I was always one of those high school and even in college girls who had like very intense relationships. Like my friends were just like, they always felt like they were the friend. But the thing is, like, I am like that with each and every one of my friends because I value so much that one-on-one interaction. So there are friends that those relationships don't feel as smooth. They just, and you start wondering, right? And you're like, huh, I used to feel really comfortable with this person, and then years pass, and it's like there's not there, we're vibing at a different frequency now. So that's when you notice it's like, oh, am I trying to pretend I'm someone I'm not so that she can feel comfortable? Or have we grown out of this relationship, right? So it's really interesting, but it's like you notice how you feel in every one of those situations.
Yes, you know what? I can agree with some of that because I remember when, like there's certain times in your life when you get married, things change. When you have children, things change. And not that you necessarily change, but I think you do a little because
Mhm.
you learn new things. I think we're always changing. Let's put it that way. I do think
Mhm.
we're always changing and evolving. And I have definitely felt at times where I was holding on to a friend and it was, like you said, it wasn't flowing anymore, and vice versa, where friends aren't in my life anymore because we weren't on the same wavelength. And when this started happening, when I was having children, I thought, what's the matter with me? What am I doing wrong? And then I realized we're not on listening to the same radio station anymore. So instead of me
Mhm.
berating myself and saying what's the matter with me, I really started to realize that as we evolve and grow, we attract new people, and some people just, float off, and that's okay. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
So not,
Yeah, you said a word that is really key to you attract. That's another way that you know that you're being aligned with your authenticity, right? Somehow you become so freaking magnetic that people and things start coming to you. So talk about manifesting, right? I'm not just talking about manifesting the house of your dreams. Sure, all of that it's important, and I love good stuff. So I'm not gonna diminish the importance of that stuff in my life. However, there's something energetically that happens that somehow people start approaching you and they don't even know why, but they just want to know more of you. They want to be on your podcast. They want to talk to you. They want to learn more about you. They ask questions. I mean, I get sometimes the craziest, very nice DMs on social media about like, but how do you do this? But tell me more about this. And I think that's because I'm just putting myself out there, right? And there is such thing as there's a difference, and I had a conversation with one of my podcast guests recently about it. There is a difference about being authentic and sharing everything. They're
yeah,
two different things. It doesn't mean that because you are keeping something's private that you're not being authentic. It's just that people have to earn that space in your life so that they have access to you and they have access to that information. That's two different things. And I think sometimes we mistake in the social media demand for us being on all the time that we have to share everything so we can stay authentic. I don't share everything on social media. But whatever I do choose to share, I want to make sure that it's from a place of complete truth. It's like I am not going to just share the high vibes and how good I'm feeling. You said it when you do your podcast, when you're not necessarily feeling super aligned. There are things that I share that are heartbreaks, and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling down because this and happened. So that is my choice. There are people who absolutely do not want to put any of those bad energies. It's not bad energies, but those lower energies out. And they're just like, no, I'm just choosing to share the highlights of what I love about my life. Valid. That's super valid. That's still authentic because when you're with your friends, when you're with your loved ones, you're still allowing yourself to have that vulnerability. And it's not about how much you're sharing out there. So I just wanted to make that difference.
yeah, no, that's a very important difference because I don't share a lot of things about my children because they're their own people. So I keep it to my story about my sugar addiction, the path that I went through with that, going through menopause, what's going through with that, how I can help you thrive after the age of 35, so I have that message from myself to other women. So that, and like you said, it's not that I'm holding something back, but that's just where if you want to come into my inner circle, then we talk about different things.
And that is authentic to you. And that is totally authentic to you, right? It would be fake if you try to change that. And that's the thing. People can read between the lines. They know that. And that's why I'm saying then we become so magnetic and attractive when we are just sharing from a place of truth and sharing from a place of connection and flow and all of these reasons why we share, right? It's not necessarily because, I want to show off the things that I'm doing. It's more about, I want to share because this is an important message. I want to share because, hey, I've been dealing with freaking perimenopause for like a year and it sucks. And let's talk about it, right? So I think the why is so important. The what and the why. I always, with every client that I work with, that's where we start with, right? The releasing of the emotions, but also understanding what is it that you want and why do you want it? We got to go back to basics. So even from the place of sharing, like, why are you and I meeting today, right? We're meeting because this is an important topic to talk about, because hopefully this will inspire, uplift, motivate somebody to say, oh, okay, I can be my most authentic self as well. It's a word that is being thrown out in the last couple of years so much that it becomes almost a little like, I don't know, sticky, I guess. Like, oh, it's not, it doesn't, it sounds like everybody's just using it. I'm so authentic. And it's like, if you remove the layers and bring it back to your values, what is it that you value? Are you aligned with those values? That's what we're talking about. That's what I mean by authenticity. It's just that values and core values are not as sexy as authenticity when you talk about it. So I think the way that I choose to express it, it's through, let's find out what is authentic to you. But at the end of the day, when we're really going deep into it, we're just talking about what are your values? What are the most important things to you?
It's really interesting being in this health and fitness space because people get drawn to lose weight, quick fixes, right? And so, just one super simple thing is, I have a guide out right now and it's called 5 Ways to Drop a Pant Size. Now, if I named it, Let's Be Aware, okay, it wouldn't sell. Right.
Yeah.
But the first thing, it's not even going to sell. It's for free. But the first thing is that, to me, sometimes I really grapple with that because I'm really about educating and empowering women, and quick fixes don't work. And there are 5 ways to drop a pant size. And the first one, which I don't know which ones I've put in this guide, but awareness cures. So it really is coming up with a plan and doing some of the deeper work. I don't sell dieting. I don't sell diet plans. I don't sell any quick fixes. If you're somebody with me, I know that doing the work is what is going to make a difference. So you have to be willing to have a look at yourself, which, goes into what we're talking about, is that authentic voice. And you said something earlier, like feeling it in your body. We have such a disconnect with feeling things in our body because we're always looking for out there to fix us, as opposed to what does it feel like in my body when I'm around this person, or when I'm creating this message, or what does that feel like? And I think, again, I know with, what you want, like what we just talked about, what you want, why you want it, it has to come from sitting and allowing yourself to be in stillness and doing the work of like, what do I want? Right. And I know,
and allowing yourself to change your mind, right?
yes,
Because maybe what we wanted 2 years ago is not the same thing that we want now, and that is okay. And I think that's part of the issues that we find, right? That we have a label as, well, I am a wife, I am a mother, I am this, and that. And the moment that we challenge that label, it's uncomfortable at first, right? I used to be in the hospitality business for 20 years or 15 years. I can't even remember how long it was. But the point is that when I started to call myself an actor, that felt so uncomfortable the first time. I remember arriving to Venezuela with my passport, and the guy asked me, okay, so what do you do there? And I'm like, I'm an actor. And he's like, where have I seen you? And that was completely like my challenge, right? Like my test of like, am I gonna own this? Like, am I really ready to own this new label that I'm imposing myself, that I want to impose myself? And it's this mix of like what people's perception is of who you are and what you do and so forth, and what you are ready to express. So yeah, it's super interesting to see when we're ready to pivot. Sometimes we are the first ones who are judging the change. We're the first ones to be uncomfortable with it. But we're allowed to change our minds as many times as we want. And that's the beauty of life. We don't have to stay in the toxic relationship for 10, 20, 30, whatever years, because that's how we're known. That's all we know. I got to tell you, I have moved so many times to so many different states. I lived in Florida, South Carolina, Vegas, New York, Los Angeles. I mean, like, I don't allow myself to settle out of fear. If it feels right, I just want to try it. I just want to try. So giving ourselves permission to change our mind is so important.
And there's so many women stuck in fear. There really
Mm.
is, right? Like just what, and I guess some of it comes down to where people will say, well, what will people think of me if I change?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, that's really interesting point. And this comes into beliefs, which let's talk a little bit about limiting beliefs, because what we believe, we do a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time, right? And so what are some examples of limiting beliefs that maybe you have or you see with whoever?
Yeah. I think the first one that came to mind as soon as you were speaking was, I'm not good enough. Who
Mm,
am I? Who am I to do this? I don't deserve this. And everything stems from a place of self-value. It's like we are all innately deserving of everything that we want. Everything, everything. You can't even put a cap into it. But do we truly believe it, that we're deserving of it? That's when the reprogramming has to happen, right? That's when the release have to happen. So we can rewrite our own story. We can make ourselves believe the new thing. But it takes time and it takes work. It's like you have the acknowledgement, you have the awareness of like, yeah, okay, maybe I do say this about myself. And we're all guilty of it, right? Like, as authentic as I can tell you I could be, hey, I go and I say, oh my goodness, I look old. I just got my birthday. My birthday was on Monday. And I was like, what? 48? I'm like, what? When did this happen? And then I have all this doubt, right, that comes in, and I I allow that to happen, but I try to not let it take over, right? And then there's like you have to have the tools and the practices in place so you can accept that this is the new phase of your life, and going back to the gratitude and going back to the evidence that this is not true, that this is not 100% true. So my recommendation would be, when you encounter any of these pesky limiting beliefs, because we all have them, challenge it by saying, is this 100% true? Like, is it truly, truly real that I am not good enough? When have I been more than enough? And then you start counter the belief. But it takes work, it takes time, it takes reassurance, it takes repetition, it takes affirmations, not every technique works for everybody. So that's why having several tools is very helpful, because it's like, well, I tried all the breathing exercises and I'm still feeling anxious. So, okay. So maybe breath is not the way that you will reconnect to your body. Maybe for you, something more physical. Maybe for you is creativity. Maybe for you is connecting back to your writing, is connecting back to your painting. It's creativity is like one of those tools that every single one of us have, and we don't use it enough
yeah.
because we have shut it down, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, I can guarantee you that if you choose to do something creative, and it doesn't have to be, a masterpiece, it could be like, I'm going to make something fun for dinner tonight. I can guarantee you that that will already increase your vibration. That would already make you feel better. That would already reconnect you with that part of your body, your sacral, that is telling you, give me more of this. I want to create more.
Mm.
So yeah, everything is a circle. Everything that you and I are talking about is that we go back to the basics. We go back to the simple solutions. We go back to your voice. We go back to creating. We go back to authenticity. Everything is connected.
Yeah. You know that my first episode is stop reaching for the shiny stars, right? They're
Mhm.
distractions for who you are. So again, we were talking about that outward thing of trying to get things to make you feel better, as opposed to tapping into what lights up my soul. What makes me get up in the morning. And, my
Mhm.
job is that. I don't even call it my job. I mean, what I've done for the last 30 years is truly, I'm going to be doing this for another 30 years. Like, I won't stop. I
Mhm.
love it. It is, I want to raise women up to
Mhm.
understand how incredible they are, to love on themselves. And it doesn't mean being a certain size. It means to me, it means being healthy and being able to do the things you want to do, right?
Mhm.
And that's my version. So whoever.
Yeah, and the thing is that you're so passionate about it. You're so
Mhm.
passionate about it that it's impossible not to feel that that's contagious, right? It's like, oh, I want that too. I want to feel that about whatever I say that I'm doing, right? And we don't have to have the same goals, but the way we go about it could totally be the same, right? Like, say, who doesn't want to wake up every day to say, oh my goodness, I'm so excited about doing this today. You know, I get such a high from seeing people that I have helped succeed in the thing they wanted to do, right? Like when I see somebody putting up the new business or creating the thing they said they were going to create, and I see the culmination of that, or I see the process of that. That's it. That's it. To me, it's like I will the whole day. I'm like, oh yeah, that was amazing. I'm like, I feel I was a part of uplifting somebody, about guiding somebody, about helping somebody getting to the place that they always knew they could get. It's just they just needed a little push,
Yeah.
So I that's why I love what I do so much as well. I have a very, very similar goal in life, and I think waking up to that every day is what gets me going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of creativity in what I do. And yes, it lights up my soul. So if you are living, your authentic life, if you are, I've been listening to podcasts of postmenopausal women, and it seems, especially in this perimenopausal phase, menopausal phase, our hormones are changing. We are, our ability to people please is becoming less. And I'm not exactly sure how I can put that into words, but then as you step into your 50s, 60s, and 70s, it just, that armor of people pleasing, just, it's like, did I just say that out loud?
Yeah, like you don't give a
No, you
anymore.
don't
You're just
care
like,
anymore,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so,
Hmm.
okay, so how, let's just talk about somebody who is like, yes, I want to rekindle my purpose. I want to, oh my gosh, because your business is Rekindle Your Light. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know what,
Hmm.
what, like, that's how they talk to you. So
Yes, yes. Oh, yes. And they're so
that's
stuck.
it.
They're so stuck, right? Because
Yes.
and I've been there, and I think that a big part of my journey was feeling stuck for so many years about my acting career and so frustrated. I was so frustrated and angry and this thing hasn't happened for me. How come? I am good. I'm doing the work. I have put in the hours, so forth and so on, right? So we repeat the same story, and then a year passes by, and then you're like, shoot, I'm at the same place that I was last year, still complaining and still not doing anything about it, right? So when people come to me, particularly in that way, first of all, I get it. I get it. I've been there.
Mhm.
I get to be there occasionally. Sometimes usually lasts one day. And it's just like, and this is the day that I'm going to be just cranky about it and complain about it. And then I'm over it the next day. But when it's something that is a cycle, that is something that for years you have felt like there's no purpose, we go back to the basics. So it's like, what is it that lights you up? Because I am confident that if we go back to figure out what was it back in the day that made you feel that excitement, that made you feel that passionate, we will find the common thread on all those things, even if they seem disjointed at first, right? You know, like I was telling you, I have a background in the hospitality business, in the entertainment business. I also had a stint in the finance world. So it's like, you wouldn't really necessarily put those three things together. It's kind of like, okay, I mean, it's not an obvious connection, right? I love food. I love making food. I love feeding people. It's like one of my love languages. So earlier this year, I said, I want to get a job. I want to get a part-time job because I want to work with this particular coach. She's expensive and I need to be able to afford her. So I'm going to get a part-time job so I can pay her. Literally, that was the choice. I started looking on LinkedIn and everything was just like, no. Can I do the job? Absolutely. And everything was either hospitality or entertainment or finance. And I was like, no, I don't know. That's not it. That's not it. And then I see the job, and the job says, first, being bilingual. Second of all, it was about having some sort of hospitality background. Then some basic finance language, some basic finance industry understanding of, you know, what it meant, the language of the industry. And then it had something to with coaching. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, this is like putting all my skills in one job description. This is back in March. I looked at that job. I said to my husband, I said, I want that job. And he's like, you know, there's so many jobs out there and there's so many people applying to this thing. I said, no, I want that job. Anyways, long story short, I went for the job, got the job. I'm in the job, love the job. I've been in it for about a month and a half. It feels so purposeful. I am helping small business owners get money so they can improve their businesses. They can up level their businesses. I'm coaching them through anything from life challenges through how can they make more money in their businesses, helping them so they can get the extra funds to the working capital to get their business going. And it feels so purposeful. But I wouldn't have gotten that job if I wasn't clear on what I wanted and why I wanted it. My why was super clear. It's like, I need this job so I can pay this lady. You know, that was super, super clear. And then my what was kind of like, okay, so what do I want to do that I want to wake up every day feeling like I have a purpose? I have something that I'm really excited to do every single day. And listen, the honeymoon phase might last only 6 months. Who knows, right? But the point is that we all have the capacity to tap back into that. So what are the things, even if they don't make any sense right now, that truly bring you into this place of excitement and happiness and curiosity, right? Because we might not even know anything about that. It could be that, you know, I always wanted to be an actor, for example. I have so many people that come to me and say, I always wanted to do what you do. How do you do it? I'm like, whoa, it's been a long journey. And it's not an easy one. So I want to make sure that if you're up for it, then, you know, I can totally coach you around how to even begin to do that. But anything that we choose to do in life, we just want to make sure that it's connected to that heart, to that center, to that, how does this feel? Oh, it feels so yummy to think that I could do this for a living. It feels so yummy that I could travel the world and don't have to compromise by society standards, right? I don't have to have the house. I can just use that money to rent and be in a place that I want to live and then move to the next place when I'm ready. You know, it's just like we get to choose how we want to live life. I know I'm sharing so much, but it's like, that's how it feels for me. It has to go back to that core, like, oh, what does it feel like the thing?
Yeah, that soul's purpose. You know, a couple of things came up as you were chatting. And there's society's message that, you know, overnight success or quick, 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 fast, fast, fast. And what I know from going through coming out of my sugar addiction is I was always looking for fast. What's the quick thing? What's the fastest thing I can do? And it's what you just said. It's time and patience. And it's you're doing it because you eventually want to get there. And as soon as I let go of dieting, as soon as I let go of restriction and deprivation, my whole entire life changed. And so that's really, you know, one of the things I try and teach women is what you just talked about. It's the letting go and coming in
And leaning in and relaxing into it.
yes,
Yes.
knowing that this is going to take time and to enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. So it's like you with acting. Somebody's not going to start acting class, and I'm just bringing this name up because it's the first name that came to my head, and be Jennifer Aniston. Okay. You have like there are thousands and thousands of actors out there that nobody knows the name of, right? You don't need to be a big star to, but if that's what you're looking for, then it's like, what are you looking for? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Why? We go back to why do you want that, right?
Yes.
Is it what are you missing? Is it the recognition? Is it the fame? Is it the money? And can those things be achieved in different ways?
Yes.
Right?
So
Because something that I learned with myself is that part of the reason why I want to act is because I want to create an impact. And then I say, wait a minute, can I create impact in other ways? And I'm getting goosebumps telling you this, but it's true. And it's like the moment that I realize that I have the power to create impact in different ways, that I could still be creative, that I could still bring creativity into my life, but I could create impact by being a coach, by doing the job that I'm doing. I was like, oh, okay, acting is fun, but it doesn't have to be the thing. I'm still acting. You know, the majority of my work comes through, I do a lot of voiceover acting for commercials, and I love it. I love doing voiceover work. It's so fun. I love doing that kind of job. But it's like it was the moment that I relaxed into it. It was the moment that I accepted that maybe I was not going to be Jennifer Aniston, and I'm totally fine with that. I don't want that anyways. But it was the moment that I realized those things that I was like, again, going back to the authenticity, I was like, this is not authentic to me. That's not what I want. That's not what I'm chasing. And if I was, it's like, why would I be chasing that? So it's like when you go back to your why and your values and what are the things that are important to you, there you go. We go back to you will find the thing or the things. And I want to make something very clear. Your purpose is not your career. Your purpose is not your job. Your purpose encompasses all of these things that we're talking about today. The thing that you wake up for every single day. Is it your kids? Is it your husband? Is it yourself? Did you just want to do work on yourself and get yourself in this place that feels so delicious to be alive? Great. That is part of your purpose, you know? So let's not define purpose by career, because I think we tend to make that mistake that it's like, well, I don't have the job, so therefore I'm not living in my purpose. No, you can have a job that allows you to have purpose in everything that you do. So totally fine too.
A really like a very good point is that, you know, your purpose, your passion, you know, it's wonderful if you can make a living out of it. But, you know, I taped an episode and I have not aired it yet, but it's called I'm happy with my 5-figure income, because so often we hear of, oh my God, I've got multiple 6-figure businesses, I've got multiple 7-figure businesses. And then I go, what's the matter with me? What am I doing wrong? And I'm like, you know what? I don't want that. My focus has been on my family, home cooked meals, connection with the people I work with. I want a small, manageable business. And I think sometimes, sure, would I like it to grow? Yes, that would be great, but I need to learn new skills to do that. And I have learned some skills. So again, it goes back to feeling that you are enough with what you do, and that I am making an impact. And I do a lot of, like, this podcast is free. I do a lot of free things that I get women who say, you've changed my life. They've never given me a cent, but I've changed their life, and they've changed their family's life, and they've changed their family's life. And so I had to do a lot of ego work, a lot of unwinding of that where do I find my and you know what? I had a 6-figure business at one point, and then I started to have children, and my focus came off my business. And not to say you can't have both, but I'm just saying
Mhm.
for me, that shifted. But I had to do a lot of work because I can remember talking to my husband just with that needing to feel needed. And I
Yes.
had to unwind the need for recognition.
Mm. Mhm.
Right? And that was a hard one to do because I was looking for approval.
Yes,
What I,
which we all do. We're always looking for validation. We're always
yes,
looking for that external thing. And it's like, well, how do we bring it back to ourselves? And it's like, even if nobody says good job, you know you're doing a good job. You know
yeah,
you're doing the right thing. You know you're impacting people. You know you're putting the work out there. And it's so easy for us in the podcasting industry to be concerned about vanity numbers, right? And be like, oh, how many people are listening? You know what? If one person is listening and one person is feeling moved, affected, changed, motivated, inspired, then we're doing our job. But
yeah.
it's very hard for the ego to
Oh,
be
it's
okay.
very hard because you start to go, what's the matter with me? Why aren't I bigger? How can I do more? And then one day I was like, why do I need to do more? Why do I need to do more?
Mm.
Do what comes. So there, I have these voices in my head that goes, you need to do more. And then I'm like, I'm living my best life. I'm so happy. I'm so
Mm.
happy. I'm
That's
so
it.
happy.
That's it. That's the best metric. That
Yeah.
is the best metric. And we just have to go back to basics and be okay with that being the metric.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? We've discussed a lot today. I hope we've really helped, just talking about emotions, how we have stuck emotions in our bodies. So that's one way we can start to elevate ourselves and elevate yourself, like not for anybody else, but I know that work has helped me. And then talking about limiting beliefs, what are they? Just to notice them, how can you start to unwind them? Tapping into your authentic voice, like who are you? What lights you up? And so
Mhm.
just to round out this conversation today, is there anything that you would like just love to impart on the women, and then tell them where they can find you and how you can help them?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for creating this space. It's so important. I think we need this type of chats more and more and more and more. And even when we feel that sometimes the space is saturated, our voice matters. And that's why we will keep doing what we do, because it is important that we share from a place of collaboration and not competition, especially, between women. So thank you for doing that. Honestly, the one thing that I just want to remind everyone is that we were all created, whatever beliefs you have about how we were created and by who we were created, we were all created uniquely, special, and there's nobody in this universe that is a copy of who you are. There is a reason why you're here. So why would you keep that reason hidden? Why would you keep it tame? Why would you keep it quiet? We need that one thing that is so unique about you that nobody else has. Hey, and it could be more than one thing. What are your superpowers? Connect with that and don't diminish your light. So my business is called Rekindle Your Light for a reason. And my job is to help people, not only women, I work with a lot of men, to find that spark in them again. And they can find me on my website. It's rekindleyourlight.com. You can find the podcast under the same name. And I'm all over social media under my name because I'm the only Ydaiber in the world. So it's very easy to find me. So thank you again for having me. This was wonderful.
Beautiful. And thank you, ladies. Really important episode to share with women who may be feeling stuck, overwhelmed, just needs to, have somebody to talk to help rekindle the passion and desire and purpose within them. So please, as always, This podcast gets around because of your support, to share it with your friends, to like it, to comment on the post. So from my heart to yours, I really appreciate that. And have a beautiful day, ladies. We'll see you in the next episode. And thank you for coming on today.